You're not going to believe what happened to this single dad janitor. The way fate turned his life upside down will leave you speechless. Stay until the very end, because the twist might just change the way you see people forever. And if stories about resilience and unexpected second chances inspire you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more stories that touch the heart. Ethan Reyes was a quiet man. At 35, life had weathered him early. He'd lost his wife to illness 3 years ago, and since then, every day had been a careful balancing act between providing for his 8-year-old daughter, Mia, and keeping food on the table. He worked nights as a janitor at the towering glass headquarters of one of the city's biggest companies, Sinclair Enterprises. It wasn't glamorous. It barely paid the bills. But it was honest work, and honest work was all Ethan had ever known. He kept his head down, mopping the marble floors and emptying the trash cans of people who didn't even notice he existed. That was fine with him. But on one cold Monday morning, as the first beams of sunlight lit up the lobby, everything changed. He had just finished polishing the CEO's private office when Victoria Sinclair herself walked in. She was immaculate, sharp as the click of her heels on the floor, and in the mood for war. "What is this?" she snapped, pointing at a coffee ring on her mahogany desk. Ethan froze. He hadn't even touched her desk except to dust the edges. "Do you have any idea how much I pay people to keep this place perfect?" she shouted. He tried to explain, but her voice drowned his. The humiliation burned in his chest as other employees peeked in from the hallway. She didn't care that he was stammering an apology. She just told him to get out. And that was that. No final paycheck, no chance to plead his case, just gone. He went home that day with his uniform still smelling faintly of cleaning chemicals, wondering how he was going to tell Mia. She greeted him at the door with her usual hug, but she noticed the way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Over dinner, he told her he might need to find a new place to work. She didn't say anything, just slipped her tiny hand into his and whispered, "You'll find one. You always do." For the next 2 weeks, Ethan searched for any job he could get. Nothing came through. His savings were running out, and rent was looming. Then, one rainy evening, as he was walking back from a failed interview, his phone rang. The number was blocked. When he answered, a voice he recognized instantly, though this time it was trembling instead of commanding, spoke. "Mr. Reyes, this is Victoria Sinclair. I need your help." Ethan almost hung up. He thought it was some cruel joke. But she went on to explain that her father, the founder of the company, had gone missing. The police were doing what they could, but he'd left behind strange notes, and the only person who had been in his office regularly enough to notice anything unusual was Ethan. Reluctantly, he agreed to meet her. When he arrived at the company late that night, she was a different person from the one who'd fired him. The sharp armor was gone. Her eyes were rimmed red, her hands shaking as she handed him a stack of papers, her father's personal memos. Ethan scanned them and instantly spotted something, a pattern in the dates and words. It was a code. It took them days working side by side, combing through files and retracing the old man's steps. In that time, Victoria learned things she'd never bothered to notice before: how Ethan never complained, how he carried himself with quiet dignity, how his love for Mia shaped every decision he made. And Ethan saw a side of Victoria he didn't know existed: a woman under crushing pressure, trying to protect the empire her father had built while wrestling with her own mistakes. The trail eventually led them to a rundown cabin 2 hours outside the city. Inside, they found her father alive but ill, having gone into hiding after discovering dangerous corruption within the company's board. Ethan helped carry him to the car, shielding him from the rain with his own jacket. In the weeks that followed, the board members responsible were removed, the company's image restored. Victoria offered Ethan not just his old job back, but a new position, head of facilities, with triple the pay and full benefits. He hesitated, but when she said, "I was wrong about you, and I don't want to make that mistake again," he accepted. The story of the janitor who became the CEO's only hope spread quietly through the building. People who had never noticed him before now greeted him with respect. But the best part for Ethan was the day Mia ran into his arms after school, beaming. "You're happy again, Daddy." And maybe, for the first time in a long while, he really was. Because sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who save us. And sometimes, life's lowest moments are just the opening scene to a story worth telling. If you believe in second chances, in kindness, in the idea that every person matters no matter where they stand, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Ethan's new role wasn't just a promotion, it was a fresh start. But stepping into the position meant walking into a storm. The corruption Victoria's father had uncovered hadn't disappeared completely. There were still people in the company who didn't like the changes, and they certainly didn't like that the janitor now had authority. On his first official day as head of facilities, Ethan walked into the boardroom to present his plan for improving safety and cutting waste. The murmurs were loud enough to hear before he even reached the table. A few of the senior executives avoided eye contact, others smirked. He could feel the weight of their judgment, but he also remembered Mia's words, "You always do." Victoria sat at the head of the table, her presence calm but